Misfits boxing fight, so a little bit loud. So I want to give you guys a quick breakdown here. Danis and Paul. There was, and let's just start at the very beginning if you guys didn't see it. This production is outstanding, by the way. I really have to give it to Mams, Taylor, DAZN, these folks that are doing this. It's a beautiful product. And
yeah, despite the fights being a little underwhelming, like the actual venue, the setup, the way that they had the event going, it was actually pretty good. So kudos to them for that.
Paul walks first. I'd be very curious as to why Paul walked first.
I called it. I knew Logan Paul was going to win, and I didn't think it was going to be by much. And it's literally just like I thought it would happen. Just, boxing, maybe Dillon Danis had like a false sense of confidence because, he's exceptionally good in jiu-jitsu, and he's only fought a couple of times in MMA, but he's done pretty good in his MMA fights, despite not having fought a whole lot. But that just doesn't translate to, boxing. Boxing's a completely different sport. So I think he definitely underestimated Logan, but we'll see.
I took it as a sign of respect to Dillon, who's been a jiu-jitsu world champion, who's a signed Bellator fighter. Who of the two of them, maybe they put him in the category of a real fighter? Right, for lack of another word, I thought it was very respectful that they walked Dillon.
All right, let's tone it down. I don't think they're real boxers, or maybe not yet. I don't know if they'll keep at it.
1 second. That's the point I'm trying to make. So at any rate, they get there. And when they face him off in the middle, Paul says to him, "I forgive you." And he says it to him again and again and again. Very calmly, he says, "I forgive you." Now, as far as head games go, that's about the best I've ever seen. In fact, I don't know of one that I can state for you that I've ever seen in my life that would be more effective than telling a guy right there in that moment, "I forgive you." So, all right.
I never thought I would hear Logan say that, so I can't believe he said that. I think he was probably like, someone from his team, I guess told him that it would be the right move or a good idea to do that. I don't think he probably came up with it on his own, but maybe he did.
Set that aside. While they're doing the face-off, more importantly than the audio effect of "I forgive you," was the visual. These two are not remotely the same size, right? You got Dillon's in there with a heavyweight. Paul looked great. Big old arms on him. He's a tall guy. Gosh, I bet you he stands just under 6'3". Paul's a great big guy. But he's towering over Dillon. Okay, the fight starts. Paul was throwing ones and twos, and he'd throw him to the head, he'd throw him to the body. If he could throw a one and he could touch you, then he would throw a two, and I love that. That's just good boxing. That's just good fighting. Clayton Hires, who trained me, he'd say that every single day. If you can touch him with one hand, you can touch him with the other. So don't touch him with one hand and not touch him with the other. And Paul would take this upstairs, and then he'd go right to the midsection. Not looking for livers and kidneys, not looking for hooks, not looking for all that pretty stuff. Straight. Ba-boom. Change elevation. Ba-boom. Again to the body. Come right back upstairs. Right? Stand big and tall. Throw two to the head. Change elevation. Throw to the body.
Yeah, that was a good game plan for him, because I think Dillon was probably going into the fight expecting that Logan would gas himself out, based on his previous fights where he just kind of like throws these looping punches that don't really land, and he just keeps like throwing them until like he's totally gassed out.
And he was quick. I turned to my wife. I said, "Man, this guy's fast." Pauls are such good athletes. They are such naturally good athletes. And this is a very wild thing to go into, right? When you got money and you don't need to fight, you're doing it for fun. Not to mention he's not even a main event. I mean, this was really about a marketing play for Prime. You really can't put your body in the line of fire, right? There's been plenty of drinks out there. Never saw the CEO of Coca-Cola or Budweiser or Coke or anybody go out and box as a way of marketing. It's kind of a special thing, right? But I'm starting to see it. I'm seeing this big guy. And I'm seeing these straights. I'm seeing the guy that can listen. I'm seeing the basics. I'm seeing good footwork. Okay, great. Round 1 done. Round 2 done. Round 3 done. Round 4 done. I'm going to go quickly because they were all the same, which is Dylan had his hands up. He's doing what we call a cage, where you put both hands up, right? And think of boxing gloves, holding the camera with one hand, but think of both hands up. So you get those big old 16-ounce gloves on, 14-ounce gloves on, you're really quite covered. Wouldn't work with MMA gloves. It's one of the reasons kickboxers don't generally transition quickly into MMA. Some of the things that they would do for defense with the big gloves just doesn't work. But I'll bring to you, Dylan's walking him down, and the announcers are carrying him. They're covering him, saying, hey, look, he's taking some pep out of his step. Then one of Glover Teixeira, Alex Pierre, one of their boxing trainers, contacts Errol Hawani. You know, he's listening to the broadcast. He's listening to the announcers giving Dylan a hard time, saying, hey, man, it's time to fight. Dylan's not fighting. And the announcer says, and the boxing coach says, hey, look, I told him to do this. This was our plan. Walk him down. Take some pep out of his step. Use up some of that energy, and then go after him. Okay, fine. Now,
that could have worked, but Dylan just was not throwing enough. Like, yeah, you can kind of like rope a guy into like gassing himself out by like just kind of defending or absorbing like punches that they're throwing, but like Dylan, he just wasn't following up enough. And you know, that's probably a big reason why he lost the fight.
That's what we thought we were seeing anyway. It's just a matter of the announcers weren't giving Dylan a lot of slack because it was only a 6-round fight. And to do that for the first round would be understandable. To go out and do that round after round, they were starting to get a little anxious. And Dylan did have some good moments. Like when Dylan throws a hook, it was great. Dylan threw an uppercut that missed, but it was just this beautiful uppercut. And I'll give Paul his due. Like, you know, Dylan's strategy, eventually you run out of time, right? You can knock a guy out. Same with MMA. You can knock him out. You can finish him. You can submit him. Or you can have more points when time runs out. So this was a points game. Paul was racking them up. Fine. Towards the end of the fight, I got to bring you this one moment because at the end of the fight, Dylan had already feinted a guillotine choke, and it was a little strong.
This is totally ridiculous, and I had a feeling it was going to happen. I just wasn't sure if he was actually like dumb enough to do it, but you know, out of like frustration, Dylan just jumps on to Logan trying to like guillotine choke him, and it didn't work, but you know, that was totally uncalled for, very unsportsmanlike.
Stronger than say what Nate Diaz did to Jake Paul. It looked like Dylan was looking for it a little bit longer. He hit a double leg and came to a body lock, but he let it go. He was purely doing that for the cameras. I'm just bringing it to you. He wasn't like looking to take him down and, you know, cheat and do something bad. He was looking to add a little excitement to the fight. But at one point in the fight, Logan has a corner man. They called it security. The announcer called it security. I don't really know what the distinction is. If he's with you and he's in your corner, he's a corner man. Either way, he's Logan's guy, and that guy gets into the ring while the fight is active. Now, I thought, and I'll admit for you, I'm not bullish on this. I don't know these rules inside and out. You got the Queensberry rules. You got the unified rules. They're fighting over in England. Is it the WBO, WBC, IBF? What rules are we going by? Is it the English boxing committee's rules? The point is I don't know the rule. But I do know under many jurisdictions, if your corner gets into the ring, any member of your corner gets into the ring during active time, simply meaning not during the break when they're supposed to be there. If they get in at any time, it's an automatic disqualification. Let me give you an example. Peter McNeely fought Mike Tyson. Peter McNeely's cornermen were in the ring. They're given ice, they're given water, they're talking to their guy in between rounds. It's time to get out. The round begins, and one of the cornermen hasn't gotten through the ropes yet. So now you have a cornerman that's in the ring at a time he's not supposed to be. Automatic disqualification. That's how that fight ended, and Mike Tyson won, officially by disqualification. So I thought, hey, wait a minute, that security guard jumped in there. He can't do that. That's a disqualification. And I wanted to make sure I was right before I brought this to you guys, so I took it to Big John. And John said, well, Chael, you can. That is against the rule. And you can disqualify a guy. John says, but you could also disqualify Dylan for the guillotine choke and the double A. I said, no, John, I understand that. What I'm asking very specifically, not is it eligible for disqualification. Is it a mandatory disqualification? And John said no. He said, no, you got that wrong. It would be at the referee's discretion. So I bring that to you just because, I mean, could you imagine, right, like there's some high points and they're back and forth.
Man, if the fight ended in disqualification, that would have been really annoying for the viewers because, you know, there's just been so much bad blood on both sides. I couldn't imagine just having the fight stopped for something stupid like that.
Logan says he forgave him. I mean, it's a real question, is he a man of his word? Can't tell a guy you forgive him. Oh, by the way, I'm going to sue you on top of that. If you forgive him, you forgive him. He said he forgave him. I hope that he means it. Logan's a stud. There's no way around it.
I don't know if Logan said that he would talk to Nina about dropping the lawsuit. I don't think there's been any mention of that. So not only did Dylan Danis lose, but he lost, and he's probably going to lose the lawsuit that he's in. That's just a really bad double whammy. I can't imagine, you know, him recovering after this. I mean, he could, just because he knows how to grab attention really well, but yeah, there's a lot of things circling around him that are not good, so we'll see if he's able to survive those.
Brother's a stud, man. These guys are legit tough guys. I don't know anybody else that could go out and do that.
Yeah, so kudos to Logan Paul. He did what I thought he was going to do, and that won him the fight. It's plain and simple. Well, we'll see if the feud continues between Dylan and Logan. I don't know, for some reason I think it's not going to stop just because of the lawsuit. But if the lawsuit is dropped, I think the feud will stop. But yeah, we'll see. Alright, thank you guys for watching. Until next time.